Welcome to the program. Joining us now is Bob Dunne, and Bob has written a brand new book called 909 Days That Changed the World. Bob, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Great to have you here. And you're from our area, right? Somewhere here in our listening area?
Yes, I am. We live in West Windsor. I am a member of St. David the King Parish, and we've lived here for about 1993, so there's be 22 years.
Okay, well,
Wow.
could be.
So, Bob, what inspired you to write this book, 909 Days?
Well, that's a really good question because, I was listening to your show before, and you guys were talking about Catholic schools, and I went to Catholic school, elementary and high school, and I remember one of the things that I always heard was that Jesus Christ, as Catholics, we believe that he is true God and true man. But I always kind of thought more about Jesus as God, and not so much as man.
Okay.
And it really wasn't until Pope John Paul II came along, and he started talking about how Jesus shows man how to be man. Mm-hmm. And that really got me thinking and asking myself, well, I don't really know that much about Jesus as a man. I go to Mass every Sunday. I frequently go to daily Mass. I've read the Gospels kind of one by one. But it's always been kind of hard for me to get a real life picture of what Jesus was really like as a flesh and blood man walking in his public ministry. So that's kind of the reason that I was driven to try to write a book like this.
So I'm trying to understand it in my head too. So you kind of saw Jesus as God, and if you saw him as God, did you see him as kind of someone far off with all these awesome qualities, but not necessarily as someone who eats, hangs out with friends?
Yes, that's exactly
and has
right.
to sleep.
And it really
too.
was, like I said, it really was John Paul II who was very strong about this idea that Jesus came to show man what man should be. Mm-hmm. That really got me thinking about all this because I've always kind of had a little bit more of a view of Jesus as God and not so much as somebody that I can pattern my life after, but really more as kind of a judge, if you will.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of drove me to try to get to know more about Jesus as a man.
So 909 Days That Changed the World, what you did was then take a look at the four Gospels and kind of put this in a chronological order?
Yes. Actually, what I started doing is I started looking for books that would give me more of a biographical view of Jesus' life, because one of the ways that I've always learned more about people, like historical figures, is reading biographies. Mm-hmm. So I started looking for books that would be more like a biography of Jesus. Right. And there are some written, and what I actually kind of found in doing research is that there's a lot of scholarly consensus about more or less how all of these four Gospels fit together on a chronological order. So what I did was that I looked at a number of these books. I did some research over time over the internet, and I came up with a chronology that I really liked. And actually, I borrowed very heavily from this one book written by a priest by the name of Goudier called The Public Life of Jesus Christ that was published back in the 40s.
Oh, cool.
And I used a lot of the descriptions and actually the chronology as it was laid out specifically in that book. And from there, I started using a lot of prayer and thoughtfulness and trying to put myself in the same scenes. A number of the books that were written about the life of Jesus Christ that tried to do stuff like this were all tended to be very long, very scholarly, or very staid. Mm-hmm. They really, in a lot of ways, still portray Jesus as, in my opinion, too much of a God figure. He is a God, of course, but not enough as a man figure that can inspire me to live my life better.
Mm. So you have 75 chapters in this book, right?
Yes.
And 909 days. So how does that work? Is it like a certain amount of days per chapter, or is it like kind of more thematic based?
The reason the chapters are short was because when I wrote the book, I wanted it to be a book that would be easy to read.
Okay.
The book is written such that you would read maybe 1 or 2 or 3 chapters a day, and think about it. The book is written not in the format to try to be preachy, but really just to present Jesus Christ as a real, live, flesh and blood human being. And as you walk with him through these 72 chapters, 909 days, the idea is that you feel a lot closer to him because you do feel that you are walking along with him from the start of his public ministry when he gets baptized right up until the end.
Wow.
The 909 days is actually approximately 2.5 years, which is the length approximately of Jesus' public ministry.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how the 909 days came. It also, the 909 is also a reference to the Jewish faith, kind of an attempt to tie it in, because if you know the Jewish faith, the number 9 stands for eternity. In fact, when you go to bar mitzvahs and parties and things like that, you generally tend to give gifts that are multiples of 9. So the 909 days is meant to be 2.5 years, and also to be a little bit of a tie-in with the Jewish tradition.
Mm-hmm. I know, and the book was brought to our attention last fall by our bishop, Bishop O'Connell, who recommended it, actually. So when you impress a bishop of the church, you know that you're doing something right here, Bob.
Yeah, I have to say, it was so humbling when I gave him a copy of the book, and he read it, and he was very enthusiastic about it, and very humbling. And I heard him. I didn't actually hear him on your radio show. Mm-hmm. Somebody called me and said, "Holy mackerel, the bishop is on radio talking about your book."
Yeah, so
awesome.
that is impressive when you hear a bishop who takes to it. He was very, very enthusiastic about it. What were you learning as you were in the process of writing it? Because that's always an experience, I think, for an author, especially as you had to do some research. What was your as you were writing it and delving into it? Yeah, what kind of journey were you on at that point?
Well, the journey that I was on was trying to make Jesus feel more like a man and more real to me, so that as I'm living my life, kind of an ordinary life, that I would be able to see him more clearly and use him as a real role model as I'm dealing with my children, with my wife, with my family, and with my friends. To be able to understand that gaze that I believe that he had in terms of how he looked at people and how he was so concerned about people, not only just their spiritual welfare, but also their physical welfare. It really made me appreciate a lot more how detail-oriented Jesus was, I believe, in terms of his caring for people. It really made a big difference in my life on how I think about living my faith on a much more concrete basis.
That's a good point, because you can break down so many gospel stories of his encounters with people, and maybe sometimes you just look at the fact that he healed them, right?
Yes.
But really sometimes he has to touch them or speak to them a little bit more, depending on where they're coming from. So that's interesting to take note of that, even when reading the Gospels, too. So when you do write your chapters, you kind of, based on your own reflection, you break down like who Jesus was in this circumstance. Is that kind of it?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Great.
And it's the book is very heavily, the gospel passages are all very, very heavily quoted in there.
And intertwined in, yeah.
The idea is the number of chapters is really kind of a function of the different things that are going on in his ministry, in terms of where he might be one particular day, and then he leaves one town and goes to a different town, so that the chapters are meant to just to do it chronologically, but they're also meant to be bite-sized so that the reader can reflect. In writing this book, it changed my life, not really because of the man, Jesus Christ. And what I try to do in this book is just present Jesus Christ as a man, and I'm not trying to make the book preachy. The book is not about me trying to impress anyone with my, spiritual or theological insights. It's really just meant to present Jesus as a man, because I think he's such a powerful person, such an impressive person, that every individual who really attempts to encounter Jesus Christ as a man will walk away with something, and they'll walk away with something probably a little bit different than everybody else will, but they'll walk away with something that will begin to help them change their lives, because they will feel like they know this man better and really want to be more like him.
Great. Wow. And it's great. I'm just wondering, do you have a chapter on the woman at the well by any chance?
I do. That's one of the first chapters.
Can you just give us like a brief
Jim
insight?
has a copy of the book there. You should pull it out and you can read it while one of the music is playing.
Yeah.
It's actually one of my favorite chapters.
Oh, that's cool.
Of the book, because it's where here is this Samaritan woman who is the first one to whom he really proclaims himself as the Messiah. And it's a very, very touching human scene to imagine Jesus there at the side of the well with this Samaritan woman of somewhat unusual repute.
Right, not really respected.
And for him to interact with her in such a personal, tender, caring way is a very powerful. It's one of my favorite chapters.
Yeah, because you're right. She's kind of not really respected, and so she hasn't been used to being treated with such love.
Yes.
When you look at that background. This is really exciting. Well, thank you for writing this and sharing.
Yeah, Bob, we want to thank you. We're talking with Bob Dunne, who has written a book called 909 Days That Changed the World. Bob, tell our listeners how they can get a copy of it.
Well, you can get a copy of the book directly from my publisher. This was actually a self-published book, so I actually paid to have the book published.
Wow.
The publisher is Leonine Press, Leonine. The book can also be bought online at Amazon or Barnes & Noble. It also comes in electronically. And if you would like an autographed copy of the book, you could get one from me. I'm local. You can email me at DUNNERJ3, so DUNNERJ3 at Comcast.net.
Very good.
Great. Thank you so
Bob,
much.
we thank you for joining us today, and thanks for writing this book.
Thank you very, very much for having me on the show. And can I just give a shout-out?
Go for it.
I have a sister-in-law named Lois and a mother and father-in-law named Bill and Marion, who are listening to the show in Puerto Rico, poolside.
Right.
That's so cool.
Poolside.
Well, have an extra drink for us.
Oh, have fun.
All right. God bless you, and God bless your family. Thanks, Bob.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay,
All
bye.
Right,
bye-bye now.
And friends, that's 909 Days That Changed the World. Check it out. We'll be right back.